are going to die.
Soft. It's moving. Got it.
Welcome back to the harbor. We're covering Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, the Steven Spielberg opus starring Harrison Ford and annoying Steven Spielberg's wife.
Man, it's the fucking summer series, baby. We're in the summer, chilling, watching all the Indiana Jones movies. This one is my favorite one. It's also my favorite adventure movie of all fucking time. I love this movie more than anyone on earth. And as a kid, I never could understand why people liked it less than the other two, especially Last Crusade. We'll get to that one next. But and I was shocked to find that out as a kid because it was such a fucking awesome movie. And it seemed to just be the same old Gen X internet dwellers that all had cemented opinions on everything in nerd culture by the time I was active on the internet, especially on forums. And this goes for Back to the Future Part 3 and the prequels and a lot of shit that I liked. And it was just like, well, here's the bandwagon and now everyone's gonna fucking get on it for some reason. So but there are some people that really, really like this movie. It's a silent kind of, I don't know.
Silent, oppressed minority.
Majority.
So I will say, I've seen this movie out of the original three, the original trilogy, the least, because I didn't have this one on VHS growing up. Because my dad, who's not Gen X, he's boomer technically, young as a four though. My dad didn't like this one as much, so he didn't have the VHS. And I also think some of the heart ripping out, some of those scenes, even though the other ones are violent, my parents were like, that's a little too much for child Scott, which I get. This movie gets dark. This movie gets dark as shit.
And people watching, if you're watching this and you don't know the trivia, well, I'll lay it out for you. This is what started the talk and necessary advancements for a creation of a PG-13 rating. Gremlins to a lesser degree, but mainly this because people were like shocked.
Yeah, Gremlins is not that. I don't even see why that would be a PG-13. I don't even remember.
I don't know, but I think when they throw them into the microwave and shit, I think people get wigged out.
Okay, I guess. I don't know.
This is like
a lot worse. Dude, Raiders is way worse than Gremlins.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
way worse.
This is yeah, this is an intense ass fucking scary movie, especially.
I mean, arguably, this movie. I think if this movie came out today, it might be rated R.
Yeah,
not on PG-13.
I do think there should have been like a PG-15 at some point. Like The Matrix could have been PG-15.
Yeah,
you know, just stuff like that. The Mad Max Fury Road, that could be PG-15. You know, stuff like that.
Well, it's one of the. It's interesting. I've read the argument that the creation of PG-13 was detrimental because it resulted in filmmakers being a lot more safe to reach the PG-13 rating. And then I really feel like PG used to be PG-13 basically a lot of the time. But that's the problem where it kind of ranged, where it could be like, well, this could be okay for 10-year-olds or 14-year-olds, but not necessarily are. So I understand wanting a middle thing. I care about it less now because I can see any movie, but I cared more when I was a kid. I was like, PG-13, I can't see it.
But also you have the problem where because everything's PG-13 now, so everyone can go see it, all the gun violence has got this weird, almost sanitized thing with it. Like there's no blood and stuff. So it kind of creates this idea in kids' heads that all this violence and gun violence isn't as detrimental as it really is. I don't know.
It's definitely, this is a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, I know.
There's definitely a normalization of gun culture that can come from movies. And the older I get and the more mass shootings there are, the more I see that. Even watching John Wick 4, which was freaking awesome. Great movie. Like really one of the best action movies ever made. But you get numb by the end of it, and it's kind of sickening in a way. Some of the
yeah.
But also it's so well choreographed, it's almost like a ballet just with like it is that's one of the appeal of action movies. So our friend Justin, he's too much of a private college white liberal to enjoy action movies, but I think that's one thing he doesn't get is like part of it's just enjoying. It's almost like a musical. It's like enjoying the choreography and the movement in the craft of filmmaking on display, while also, you know, blowing people's heads off and stuff. But Tim will do.
I will like to.
Enjoy...
We forgot to tell the audience that Casher does have fucking food poisoning, and he still came on somehow because he's a fucking champion. So he's a baller, and he's not pissed off at this movie. He's just, you know, going through some
My
shit.
whole reason to come on and address the audience, because I don't know how long I'll last this cast, to tell everybody I was a very big Temple of Doom naysayer, and this is my first rewatch in probably 7 years, and I actually really enjoyed it this time.
Yeah, let's fucking go, boy.
So I have a similar thing. I enjoy this a lot more on a rewatch. I still think Raiders, I don't know, Raiders I have to say is like the best, quote unquote. This one, it's both more dark and more fun, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's way pulpier and more, feels almost more classic adventure-y in the jungle sort of thing. Because you lose that. It feels less modern, actually, because you lose the Nazis and all their war machine stuff.
Yeah.
But and it's more Orientalist, kind of weirdly, I don't know. You gotta get the whole like white man falling from the sky prophecy is a bit like, okay, we can
for sure.
Okay, that's a little much, but literal white savior falling from the sky.
Yeah.
But oh well, it is what it is. But no, I again, I didn't really watch this one growing up for the aforementioned reasons, and then I saw it later. I enjoyed it, and I've seen this one more recently because like they would play Indiana Jones on TV a lot. So, but I think a lot of what I've recent watches of this have been like the last half on TV. I haven't sat down and watched all of it in a while, in years actually. But no, I really enjoy the pulpiness of it. Once you get over Willie Scott's character on a rewatch and you kind of accept it for what it is, it's kind of like, okay, she's annoying, but she's supposed to be annoying.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
Or that's the argument Mark Hamill makes with Jar Jar. Is like, well, he's annoying, but he's supposed to be. That's
okay. Willie Scott and Jar Jar is two different things to me.
No, I think they're kind of similar, man.
Willie Scott has never bothered me. I always find her antics entertaining, because you know it's like we're gonna put this stupid, annoying, rich prima donna into
from Missouri,
the most insane setting possible. Yeah. And you know, she does save them at least once or twice. So
yeah, she knocks.
But also, like, everyone's always compares her to Marion, and I'm like, they don't have to be the same fucking character. I don't want them to be. And two, to be fair, on rewatch, I really noticed how much of a damsel in distress Marion is and how helpless she is in a lot of scenes. Just because she can kick some ass doesn't mean it's still not like, kind of like, damn, dude, you're just using her for, you know, plot. I don't know, just like.
No, I understand, like her getting the basket and
the
then
whole
she's
fucking
dead.
She's captured, she's tied up, then she's thrown into the well of souls, etc., etc. It's just like, and then when she gets thrown in the well of souls and she sees the snakes, she's like screaming hysterically and jumping on Indy and stuff. Like, that's kind of annoying too, but you know, people won't listen to reason. So
yeah, And to be fair, if I don't have a phobia of snakes, but if you threw me into a pit of 1,000 snakes, I would probably, and many of them poisonous asps, then yeah, I would freak out. It would be a lot. It would be a lot. If I see one rat, it's fine. If I see 1,000, it's, it's a thing. And to be fair for Willie Scott, I wouldn't want to eat monkey brains or put my hand in a hole full of insects.
Stepping on all those bugs and shit, dude. Fuck all that.
Yeah, and I don't have a phobia
Which
of bugs,
were
but
real.
there's a line where what?
Those are all real bugs that they brought in. Like, fuck all that.
Yeah, dude. What they do? How did they clean them up? They just like get a dustbuster and just like.
I don't know, but the film opening is great to me because it really feels like Golden Age Hollywood with the way it's glitz and glamour and the way it's staged, and it's like a musical sequence, and you're like, what the fuck? If it's your first time, you're like, huh? But the song Willie's singing is a classic. You get to really see her shine in her element, so I think it's kind of important. And so it's a fun opening credits, completely different from the first one, which is in the jungle. But to me, the introduction to the hero is just as cool as Raiders, because we see, first of all, everyone's wearing a black tux, and then we see the guy in the white tux slowly coming down into the frame, down the stairs, and it does the James Bond kind of reveal, and it's like he's like a James Bond in this opening scene, but cooler to me because it's Harrison fucking Ford and Indiana Jones. And he has the distinct red flower, and the white suit, I guess, is a simple way to say, hey, he's the good guy.
Yeah. And the white guy, did my mic pick that up?
Yeah.
That? Okay, good. I really want to emphasize that.
I just
I'm sure this was unintentional, but I was thinking the idea of having a performance, a musical number at the top with a white woman singing Chinese is almost a winking at the camera of like, hey, we're going to have white people doing Asian stuff this whole movie, and we're acknowledging it right off the top. I don't think that's why they did it. I think they just wanted a musical number, and good luck selling a blockbuster with even a black lead back in the day. But yeah, I don't know. It is interesting. That club is cool. I do wonder how the hell she got there, and did she just like go on casting couches that almost, or like, I don't know. I don't know. Seriously, she's almost
make
like
your way up. Obviously she started off in America, probably in Hollywood area, and you meet some folks, and back then it was just like a great opportunity. Probably they were going to pay her a lot to have residency in Shanghai. I don't know. Plus that club is called Club Obi-Wan, if you didn't see the sign.
There's a guy now, shout out to Austin Floyd. He grew up in Greenbrier, close to us, but he's up in Fayetteville now. He's an artist, and he like travels in the summer out of country to random places. And it reminded me of Willie, because Willie's in this random place and she's like a star, because Austin Floyd starred in like a Thailand like sitcom.
Whoa.
One summer a few years ago.
That's awesome.
He came back and showed everybody, and we were like, what the fuck? This is cool.
There's weird stuff like that, man.
Yeah.
I heard that there's some, I can't remember. I think Matt was talking, our friend Matt, who is from Springfield originally, was talking about there's some musical artist from Missouri who just happens to be real big in Korea. Like, there's things like that, man. I don't know.
Like Chris Allen, the guy who won American Idol in 2009, it was like huge in like certain European areas.
David Hasselhoff was huge in Germany. They played his single when they tore down the fucking the wall.
I stayed in a hostel in Berlin that was Hasselhoff themed.
What
Don't
the
hassle the
fuck?
haw.
Yeah, it was kind of a wink, a joke for it, like international crowds and stuff. But it was a nice hostel.
That's
But
crazy though.
I'm pretty sure
no,
he
you
performed
went
that
down to the
live.
basement where the bar was, and there was this whole. It was like there was a Hasselhoff shrine in one of the hallways. It was weird.
He performed his like most famous single live when they tore down the Berlin Wall.
I've never even heard his music.
It's mediocre.
I don't remember any of it, but it's
You
like
ever listen to Jackie Chan's music?
I
yeah.
heard him sing "Let's Get Down to Business" in Cantonese.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway.
I do want to say something. I'm probably about to bounce off of this
Okay.
because I'm spiraling a little bit.
Okay.
I do want to say the elements I enjoyed in Temple of Doom was probably just like every scene that's in the mine shaft and like watching all the voodoo doll getting impaled by the voodoo doll and Short Round saving the day. I really liked all the mystical, like supernatural elements, which is probably my favorite shit in Indiana Jones. Unless it's by aliens, then I hate it.
Okay.
But I did hate this movie for a long time.
Hate? Really?
I really disliked this when I was in high school and like early college, and that was the last time I watched it. But revisiting it was fun. It's a fun
It's a
ass
badass fucking movie, dude. I'm
movie.
telling you.
The mine cart scene is probably my favorite. scene.
Yeah, dude. That
my favorite
is a
scene.
fucking
Awesome action.
thrilling. Yeah, dude. It's nonstop. I wish there was a fucking ride like that, The Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland is fucking cool, but if they did a second ride, like make a ride at Disney World, they should do the mine. Yeah, that would be sick.
Make it Donkey Kong themed.
Yeah, okay,
Hey,
there we
dude,
go.
Without Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, we wouldn't have the Donkey Kong minecart levels.
Oh shit.
It's fun to revisit things that I like was pretty adamantly against. I used to give Adrian a lot of shit for and end up
I know,
enjoying.
man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, in high school, you literally wouldn't look at anybody doing the Vulcan Trekkie sign because you were like, "No, Star Trek's bad."
Yeah, we were already virgin enough. We didn't want to be double virgins.
Yeah, that's that's a good point.
Star Trek is still gay, but
I'm glad you made it. The voodoo doll thing, I'm like, that's Haitian, not Hindu. Why are they doing
matter.
that?
voodoo dolls aren't just exclusively Haitian.
Are they not?
No, voodoo dolls are called different things elsewhere, but pretty prevalent throughout like a lot of like witchcraft and witch doctor shit.
Really?
Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
I also noticed they had a Shiva the wrong color in a parchment. They have them blue. I'm like, Vishnu's blue. Shiva's like ash and gray.
Man, white people writing a bunch of fucking.
I know. I'm just pointing it out.
People.
I don't care. I care, but I still enjoy the movie.
So when he's talking to Lao She and his goons, Spielberg always knows how to pick good props that help with blocking and camera movement, because the lazy Susan on the table allows for the action to go back and forth while the camera can just stay on one side and follow whatever's being passed across the table, which also helps extenuate the tension of the scene instead of cutting, because it lingers and it feels like you're in this moment with them, kind of watching it go back and forth. And so it's
one of my favorite scenes in the movie is the opening when he's trying to get the antidote.
Yes.
That shit.
And it's like
slapstick.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like
tense but funny.
He's having to fight and do all this shit while he's dying of poisoning, and so the sense of urgency elevates to the max. And then Willie's trying to grab the diamond as well as, and then she finds the poison or the antidote, and it's just like,
I'm not that kind of woman.
It's like this almost, yeah, it's like a slapstick routine, like an episode of Looney Tunes almost. And like I like the fight that's going on, and the band is like still playing and shit, and the showgirls come out and stuff. It's just complete chaos. It's just a cool opening fight, and he throws that that fucking shish kebab
with the fish still on it.
Yeah, dude, like what?
Like a missile.
All right,
completely
guys.
Unrealistic.
I'm gonna pop off here.
Yeah,
dude.
again, I really enjoyed Temple of Doom. And I just want to say I'm excited to do my favorite indie next week.
Sure.
But I'll see you guys next week. I'll enjoy the rest of the cast.
Okay. I'll see ya.
Poor bastard. Also, one of the reasons I like this on a rewatch is because I've seen it less. Because Raiders, I enjoyed it, but I've seen it dozens of times.
Right.
Where I've seen this, fewer than 10 times. So there's been a few. Yeah, because I didn't grow up watching. I watched Last Crusade and Raiders were movies I would watch on repeat. If we went on vacation, like if I would bring those VHSs, but even if I went to like grandparents' house for the weekend, I would bring those and watch them at night while nobody was doing anything, sort of thing.
I watched all three of them over and over and over again. But it's just like Temple of Doom, I think it just shocked me because I was sheltered and it was just like unlike anything I'd ever seen.
Yeah, because we talked about this last cast, but both our parents were a little more strict about what we could watch than say cashers who would just be like, "You're 6, watch Terminator." But then they liked Indiana Jones, so they're just like, "Hey, you can watch Indiana Jones." Screw it.
And it's like, okay, it's George Lucas, and you think it's like Star Wars, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm like, dude, Star Wars uses blasters and shit. Like, it's not as crazy.
No, and there's not, outside of the one arm cutting off scene in Mos Eisley in episode 4, there's really no blood.
Right.
So let's talk about Short Round, because they meet Short Round.
Yeah. No.
What is your yeah? I will say, after everything that happened at the last Oscars, seeing his name, K's name, Quan, if I'm saying that right, in the credits, it's kind of surreal. And you're watching, you're like, this kid grew up to be an Oscar winner, and he was kind of plagued by this role, which was to no fault of his own, because
also the Goonies.
And Goonies,
child actor syndrome,
Yeah, child actor, very similar character in Goonies, kind of.
I think he's great in this movie. I don't have a problem with his depiction, but I'm also not Asian, so I don't know how much I can even comment on it. But the actor, loves and reveres this role, and he reveres Spielberg. So, what can I say?
It is one of those things. It's almost as if all East Asian people are not a monolith, and 2-3 billion people can have differing opinions.
Yeah,
maybe that's possible.
Yeah, I don't
know. No, they're all the same bunch of commies. One mind, hive mind. No, that's one thing I watch, and people make fun of him. And again, you kind of just have to go with it. Like, is it ridiculous that this indie took this kid off the street to help him, like, fight, not Nazis, but like go around and rob?
Yeah, see that it does make indie kind of like questionable, because
between that and Marion, do you think he was?
Why does he have this 12-year-old kid running around with him doing this dangerous shit? I know he didn't expect for this kid to get involved with a Thuggee cult, but like still. And there's also the guy, his friend at the beginning, who dies, who's seemingly on an adventure with them. So it was him and Short Round and this guy.
Yeah. And that guy, again, it's one of those, we talked about, even the small characters are cast so well, and so creatively, and with the addition of costuming and just direction, you feel pathos when that guy dies, even though you've seen him. He has like 3 lines in the movie.
Yeah,
he's like, "Be careful, Dr. Jones," at the very beginning. He has the first speaking role, I think, of them after the singing, and then he's like, "This is the great adventure I will go on first," or something, which is kind of your faux Eastern
I go
wisdom.
first,
yeah, but you're like, this guy seems like a bro, it's so simple.
2 lines, and you already know that they have a good history together.
You can tell. In Indy, who's normally very jaded, seems genuinely upset when this guy dies.
Yeah,
he's never brought up again in the movie, so I don't know if he's that upset. But for that scene, Harrison portrays it well. For this character, I don't remember the name of.
Yeah, but Short Round, I think he's a delight. I like him.
I like him more on the rewatch.
He's funny, and seeing
Some of the shit he said, like, it's like, it feels like I'm stepping on fortune cookies. That's insane.
That's when it goes too far.
That's too far. Fortune cookies are American.
That's the one line I was like, okay, all right, come on, dude. That is the one line where I had to like take a note just for that line specifically.
Yeah, no, it's not full long duck dong, but there are moments where it's a little okay.
Yeah, but like having a 12-year-old have to drive a car, dude,
with the visual gag of he's too short, he's short round, and he has the blocks of wood, so he can reach the pedals.
Dude, that's good humor.
It's funny, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and he's that like having like a 12-year-old kid be your getaway driver in itself is a great concept. But so yeah, I like Short Round, and then we talked about Willie, and yeah, we'll say like she provides some good comedy too, but also I do care about her, and you get enough about her. She talks about herself a lot because she's that kind of person, so you do get a sense of who she is, and she's like, I'm not that kind of girl. I'm not that easy. And then Harrison Ford is like, I'm not that easy either. And I don't know. It's just that interesting, like, because normally in a James Bond movie, they'd immediately be having sex, no question. And I don't know.
We don't see him hook up in this movie. I presume on the way to Delhi, they bang in a hotel or something. That's my headcanon. And then she fucks off, and she's like, "I'm not. This guy's insane. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with
that. Is definitely a one-timer for her.
She's like, I'm done, and I don't blame her.
Yeah, and it's like the escape is good, and then what's his name has that random cameo at the airport. I can't remember his name.
What guy?
Dan Aykroyd.
Wait, Dan Aykroyd?
Yeah. Pretty sure. Yeah, look it up real quick. I'm pretty sure it's
Dan Aykroyd's in this. That was Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, he's just telling Dr. Jones about his flight and all this stuff.
I didn't even put two and two together.
Yeah, it's real fast, but and
why? Dan Aykroyd also likes the crystal skulls, but also believes they have actual magical powers because he's that kind of guy.
Yeah,
is crystal skull vodka.
Yeah,
that'll give you some magical power, or you'll think you'll have magical powers.
Yeah, I remember watching one of his videos a long time ago on YouTube where he's like talking about shit and then he's trying to advertise the vodka, and I was like, okay, I got like paranormal and ET shit as much as the next guy, but this is grifting bullshit.
He's into it though.
No, I know, but I just felt fucking cheated. I don't know, but dude, I love the visual gag where he's like, "Nice try, Lao Shay," and then he closes the door and it says Lao Shay on it, and then we get we do get the Sigma male moment where he's like, oh yeah, and he puts his hat down so he doesn't have to look at her and talk to Willie because he thinks she's kind of annoying on the plane. That is kind of important that he does find her aggravating at first.
Yeah, no, it is important because you're supposed to.
And so yeah, we have the most of this movie, why I liked it so much is because it's a nonstop roller coaster. And the only times we get to stop for a moment is not really even this moment on the plane because they have to jump out of it. But it's like when they talk to the tribe, and then also at Pankot Palace when they're having the dinner, and then other than that though, it's just nonstop.
No, everything from the second act on is nonstop. You have the dinner, you have them riding the elephants, which is a lot of talking, but that's not that much. But after that, this movie goes hard, even more so than Raiders, which I remember my dad talking to me. You know, he said when Raiders come out, he's like, there have been action movies before, but this was almost the first one where it was just nonstop. You know, when Raiders came out, the pacing of that movie is still quick.
Yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, there's the pilot's jump from the thing, and then we get the insane stunt where he uses a rubber raft.
Which I was do you know how they filmed that?
No.
Because it looks real. It looks like there's people in there, which I don't think that would work in real life.
Yeah, they
But
attached obviously dummies to it.
dummies. I mean, that has to be.
I always, as a kid, I wanted them to do like a Mythbusters episode on that because I wanted to see what would happen if you were able to manage to do it. I don't know how much air resistance would you actually get.
Yeah, and how much air resistance would you get? How much would the impact be absorbed? Would it just pop if you're landing on snow? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
What if they just landed on a rock and that was
it's stupid and silly.
Oh, it's dumb.
But I can still enjoy it. But also they go over that fucking cliff too and like fly down. Like it's a pretty great height.
It's a movie. There's some
I know
obvious green
it's a
screen
movie
stuff.
until it involves nuclear explosion. Then people get pissed off.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, but that is ridiculous, and I will say that's probably more ridiculous than anything.
Yeah, it is more ridiculous, but
the I'll say it with we'll go back to Tasher. It's the whole ancient aliens thing. That's just another type of religion. I argue, and we'll cover this when we do Crystal Skull, but like this is about the pulp of the 30s, and Crystal Skull is about the pulp of the 50s, which is science fiction, Cold War Russians, all of that.
Also, it's lost city of like gold, the Aztec shit. Like it's pretty. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get to that one. But now we get to the highly controversial portrayal of India.
Yeah, here's the thing. I was thinking about that a lot, and that was also another one of my criticisms of this movie, and it's still a little weird. Now, are there poor villagers in India? Yeah, they got like, I think almost 2 billion people now. They might have hit that. I think they have more people in China now.
Yeah, they did. Like as of recently,
yeah, as of recently. So there are poor ass villages in India,
everywhere,
everywhere.
100 years ago.
Yeah, of course they didn't have the infrastructure. Yeah, I will say he's like, we're in India, and then it's like zooms in on the old decrepit looking Indian man. It's not like it's not a software engineer they're showing. It's not like a Slumdog Millionaire. What's that guy's name? Dev Patel. It's like clean cut. It's like, no, we got to get the most other. There's definitely a sense of otherness that they definitely portray. I will say, though, rewatching this, there is some the posh we meet later in the Pencott Callus. We do meet them, and they do criticize the British imperialists, which I don't blame. He's like, yes, we feel like very well looked after children, or something like that.
Yeah,
he says that about the British Empire coming to check in on them all the time.
Yeah,
which, to be fair, I understand.
So yeah, there's some definite problems with the depiction, but also it's not far fetched to say that there's going to be some obscure poor ass settlements out there, and a lot of the world hadn't even been fully developed yet in the 30s.
Well, and also they're going through a period of famine. This isn't how they are all the time,
right?
So they're starving. I do like they had that little bit of food, and they're like, "This is more than people eat in a week." I'm like, I don't think they'd live if that's all they ate in a week.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's not.
It's figure of speech.
Yeah, right? And Willie turning down that food is unbearable, but
it's hard to watch.
But the problem is I can see my mom and my sister doing the same shit, and that's where I'm like, God damn it. So it's not unrealistic, dude.
I don't even remember what it's just like rice, and it's normal.
It looks like slop, I'll be real. But also, it's a different culture, different food. You're not used to it. It's not as cartoonish as Monkey Brains, but I would be kind of apprehensive too, but I would still, out of politeness, be like, thank you so much.
Yeah, you grit your teeth, but
also also it's another moment of Indy's just like this masterclass of knowing like cultural customs and everywhere, and just how to
Yeah,
act.
and he knows both Hindi and Chinese in this movie
yeah.
fluently, but not
Yeah.
German, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I guess it makes it if you're an archaeologist here, and again, it's what level of when people, it always bugs me when people ask, like, was that person fluent? Like, that's not the right question to ask. The right question to ask is, what level of fluency does that person
Yeah.
have? It is a spectrum. There's I mean, there's literally like tiers of certifications you can get for a given language. And then even at fluent, there's a spectrum there. And then there's a big gap, arguably as big from not knowing it to being conversational to being fluent to being native. Because a lot of people confuse fluent with native. Fluent comes from the Latin to flow. That's the same root word. So anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent.
No, that's fine.
Language here. But depending on also the thing about India, dude, there's so many languages. There's what? Telugu and Punjabi and Hindi. And then there's like 200 dialects of Hindi. And not when I say dialect, it's not like an accent. It's not like we're like Southern dialect. It's different words, different grammatical constructions, even, it's like you could consider Swiss German a dialect of German, but it's not like the difference between American and UK English. So is it ridiculous that he can, I don't know, but a lot of them speak English in this movie because they're British colonies.
Well, also, like, speaking of the opposite of fluent, this main guy, the village elder guy that they taught to, he does not speak English at all. So they are having to feed him the lines one by one as he just.
Oh, you mean the actor does it?
Yeah, the actor. He's having to repeat these lines just back, like they say it to him, and he just
phonetically.
Yeah, and so that's why there's kind of this weird delivery there. Almost.
Oh, I thought that was just part of the performance.
They
couldn't find a.
That's what, like, you really. I mean, hey, whatever. I don't really know why.
I mean, it was the 80s, and I mean, lots of British people. I mean, lots of Indian people speak English.
Sure.
And lots of British people do too.
They must have really liked. I don't know how he looked.
They must have liked that. How'd that guy get the casting called in if he doesn't speak English?
I don't know. Well, ask Spielberg.
Was this filmed in India?
I don't. I actually. I don't.
I know Pankot. That was a set. The palace is a set.
Sure. I'm not sure exactly where they shot this at.
I'll look it up.
And I do like when this guy is like explaining the Sibilinga and like all the lore and shit, and Indy just like immediately knows the exact sacred stones that he's talking about, and then can suddenly speak the colloquial fucking language. It's so funny, dude. He's just like, oh yeah,
like, oh, it's similar to these other stones. He's like, oh, I know these stones from this random village in the middle of fucking India.
Yeah, like, and it's not like he had Google and the internet to be like normal people with autistic savant level interests can just like go on and study everything at their fingertips. This guy's having to go through like encyclopedias and in the library.
What it would probably be
books.
Something back then, it's probably like that would be in one book.
Yeah.
Like a specialist of a specialist would have one book, and he teaches it wherever he teaches. I don't remember. And he would have to get an interlibrary loan or a special order or something. It would take like 6 weeks to get there just for this one piece of information that he just happens to know. It's a movie. It's a fucking movie.
I know. It's just so
funny. It's funny. No, Indiana Jones is like almost overpowered in some ways. It's like he's strong, he's athletic, he speaks 6 languages, he's a PhD. It's very. If he wasn't so he's very charismatic. And if it wasn't Harrison Ford's portrayal and the fact that it's pulpy and the fact that we see him just kind of fumble his way around and get his ass kicked, helps him being a complete Mary Sue, but he is definitely a movie character. They filmed a good chunk of this in Sri Lanka, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Sri Lanka, China, obviously, United States, and England.
Wow.
So
okay. What I love most about Indy in this movie is like the exchange when he's telling Willie what this guy's saying, and it's going kind of piece by piece. And then it gets to that moment where the guy tells him that the children were taken and stolen for the village. And there's this change in Indy's entire expression. It's some of it's nuanced, but it's very much like, it's just an interesting performance by Harrison. And I like that now it's not just the allure of the Stones, but there's like this reluctant hero coming out to play now.
Right.
He can't help but want to help, you know?
And that is one of the things that makes this movie interesting. It's kind of alluded to in Raiders, his reputation. But in this, he is a full-on profiteering grave robber, which is something I don't hear talked about enough. But this is an origin story, kind of this is the Batman Begins of Indiana Jones as a hero, because he's so much more selfish. He has his own weird child slave that he's teaching to gamble and stuff, which is hilarious. So it is interesting to think of what path led him here, which I guess you can read the Young Indiana Jones Adventures and all that.
They're putting all that on Disney Plus soon, which I've never seen. I might check some of it out.
There was some, I remember on Netflix, they had one of those Young Indiana Jones shows, and I watched some of it where he was talking to T.E. Lawrence, Lawrence of Arabia or something, and it was dated. It was just kind of slow and uninteresting old TV,
Yeah.
And maybe have it on the background if you're that deep into indie lore.
Yeah, I
don't even know how the canon works. What?
But it's certainly no Clone Wars. He does tell Short Round that's fortune and glory, but clearly you see the state of that poor child who like comes back into the village, and the way Indy's like shook by it. So it makes you think otherwise, that he's, I don't know. It's a good moment.
Subtle enough. No, and it's a good performance from him. He doesn't have to say anything. And it is the reluctance that makes it interesting. Because at the same time, would I want to risk my life to, I mean, first of all, if I went in there, I would get killed immediately. So that's a stupid question. But because I'm not Indiana, I'd be like, hey guys, you guys see RRR? What's is that movie's not out yet? It's the 30s. And then they kill me. I think
Slumdog Millionaire.
But
name the most American fucking Indian movie. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys see I don't know.
Yeah, no. And despite this movie being dark as fuck, there's still a lot of humor interjected.
Yeah, but mainly in the first half.
Yeah. I mean, where are they gonna joke around in the second?
It's like, hey guys, child slavery.
But there's the moment where they sit around the fire, and there's the elephant touching Willie's shoulder, so she's brushing it off a bunch, and then so they could do a snake gag. So if you watch this first before you'd ever seen Raiders, you'd be like, what's the deal with the snake? But it doesn't matter.
Doesn't like the snakes, man. The whole, it is, again, there are interesting moments and just interesting dry deliveries of Indy, who still delivers some comedic lines, but it's always dry because they don't have to have everybody doing quips. Yeah. She gets sprayed by the elephant and is ticked off, and he's just like, we'll camp here. Just like, I don't want to deal with this bitch anymore. It's just like, we can, and it's completely slapstick and over the top, almost takes you out of the movie, where she's running around the camp afraid of everything.
Yeah, and everything's like, popping up. Yeah, that's
why they call it the jungle, honey.
And you hear a tiger roar in that scene, it's like you're not scared of a fucking.
I would be freaked out of a tiger.
Cat, dude. I would be. Hell yeah.
The owl. She gets scared by an owl. I'm like, that owl's not gonna do anything. It's an owl.
Yeah.
Owls are cool, man. Owls are one of my favorite birds.
Owls are fucking crazy.
Owls are awesome.
I always liked the owl in the Winnie the Pooh series. He was cool. Yeah. He was also a dumbass, but
they're smart. They're cuddly. They're apex predators.
Cuddly. What are you cuddling a fucking owl?
I've seen TikToks, man.
What? Okay. All right. So they get to Pancop Palace. And obviously it's not deserted because now there's guards randomly there. And they're like, okay. And then the douchebag guy who's like,
What
he's
the guy with glasses,
yeah,
the educated guy in the suit.
yeah. He's
Yeah. I'm guessing they're all in on it, right? Not the prince, but
yeah.
he's in on it.
Yeah,
obviously.
he's in on it for sure.
Do we see by the end of the movie what happens with him? I guess he gets arrested by the British, I assume.
I guess the only one that I don't think is in on it is the actual like British general guy who's there checking in on shit.
No, because he just dropped in. That's what they say.
Yeah, right.
He's like, no, we have 2 unannounced visitors.
Yeah.
He gets annoyed. And,
yeah.
It's like, the boss is in today. I have to look like I'm working, sort of thing.
And
they obviously just over that province or whatever are just, and this happens with child rulers, child monarchs, kings all throughout history of, okay, you have that, but then there's a regent or something that's actually making the decisions.
Yeah. And there's a cool display of culture there with like the dancers and different shit like that. But then there is the problem with people have with the gags with the snake that they eat and the monkey brains and stuff. People find that offensive. But to me, it's like too cartoonish to almost like get mad at it. It's just
I'm not it gives me a kind of an eye roll. It's I can see why people find it offensive. I find it a little bit offensive. Not enough to kvetch and like, this movie sucks
it's just
about
so
it.
absurd. But I can see why.
I think what it is, and you have to think, this is from a different time. It's kind of like, so Aziz Ansari, the actor and comedian, he talks about when he was a kid, he would take Indian food to school, and all the other students would make fun of him and his food for like smelling weird and stuff. And now he sees everybody eating Indian food and loving it. He's like, well, what the fuck, guys? So think about the 80s. There was already, if you're eating ethnic food, an othering of that. Like, oh, that's weird. Why would we eat that? People were not as open to eating international cuisine. They didn't have the internet to like read recipe. I couldn't find, a chana masala recipe unless, again, I got an interlibrary loan of some random English cookbook. No, for real.
Yeah.
In this country, at least. So, especially in Arkansas, like God. I bet if you cooked for a dinner party curry for Arkansans in the 80s, they'd just be like, what is this shit?
Yeah.
So I think you have to understand it from the context of when it came out, of why, if you were Indian American at the time, it would be insulting because people were already treating you as an other.
Right.
And then to see this major blockbuster film treating your nationality or whatever your ancestors' nationality was as this freakish thing is weird. I will also say, when he cuts open the snake and all the baby snakes come out, don't snakes lay eggs? They're not mammals.
Were they? They weren't snakes, I don't think. Were they? I thought they were eels and shit.
Did he stuff them? I thought it was like baby snake. Maybe it was eels or something.
Nah, I think it's like
I know I shouldn't be talking about the scientific accuracy of this.
Yeah.
But
it's like the only thing about the food gags is that kind of makes it hard to focus on what Indiana is talking about with the prime minister and the shit like that, because it's really important to the world building. That's when they're talking about Thuggee cults and stuff.
Yeah.
And so it kind of detracts from that a bit. Because
there's a lot of important,
and you do get the moment with the young prince who's like, I've heard these rumors, but
I've heard these rumors.
Yeah.
And that's his real voice. That's not him dubbed. That's really good casting.
Yeah.
I don't think it's him dubbed.
I don't think so.
Look like it is.
And then
I've heard these rumors of the cults.
After that, we get
I'm surprised Willie didn't just try to marry him just right there. It's like, we can sleep in separate bedrooms. I don't give a crap.
Yeah, it's like she's just worried about all the riches and shit. And I'm like, dude.
Gold digger, man.
But so we do get that good world building if you're listening to them. and not focused on monkey brains, which if they did like they wouldn't do this because, the controversy surrounding it, but a good themed food, I think, at like Disneyland or something, they could do chilled monkey brains, but it'd be like a sorbet or something. I don't know.
I don't think they're gonna do that.
No, they
Woke
wouldn't. They wouldn't.
Woke Disney wouldn't do that.
But yeah. So
they've been enough in the news over bullshit. They're just like, we don't give a fuck, guys. All we knew was that now that LGBT people can get married, we can sell tickets to them and it not be political suicide. We don't actually care about anyone.
Yeah. So after this, we get the nocturnal activities scene, which is the last moment of peace in the film before shit goes crazy.
Do you think Indy gave Short Round the birds and the bees talk?
I mean,
Short Round's like,
the kid grew up on the street. I'm sure he saw.
I'm sure he heard of it.
He knows.
He's
what's
like, why
going
you
on.
always go, Indy? Why you always go with women? What you doing? Stuff like that. And he's like, well, kid, let me teach you how to.
No, this kid's
aim abroad.
Short Round knows a thing or two. He's not a dumb kid.
He's kind of creepy. He's like, you tell me everything in the morning. I was like, bro, that's
he's not creepy. Fucking 12, 13-year-old. That's a funny thing to say because you're thinking about that shit at 13.
Yeah, I think he's fucking with him, is what it is.
Yeah, he's messing. He's just breaking balls.
Yeah.
But I do like that that fucking assassin who's just blending into the background. That's a fun little gag. But also you're like, oh shit. And the way he dies though, he gets like the whip attached to his neck and then into the ceiling fan. There's no way that ceiling fan could fucking pull him up like that and kill him, right?
No. First of all, it'd probably break off. It's not designed for
like what kind of industrial sized fucking fan? Like,
yeah, dude, maybe this is in a factory. I don't know. It's a fucking movie. It is one I watched that. It's not even going that fast.
Yeah,
it wouldn't break his neck or crush his windpipe or anything.
Yeah,
but again, this is also a movie with like people, voodoo dolls and stuff. So
now, this movie uses shadows almost as much as the first one. I feel like there's less shadow work in Last Crusade comparatively.
Yeah, probably. I haven't seen Last Crusade in years.
Okay.
But this is definitely visually a brighter movie overall for the first half at least. Even there's a lot of glowing lava red. Why is there lava underground? Because there is.
Awesome.
Because it's awesome. That's why.
Yeah.
And they're just hanging out near it, no equipment or anything, breathing in high off sulfur fumes, sacrificing to their god.
I do like that moment of first of all, why was he given, or why was she given a room that connects to an underground passage that could lead to like that? And it doesn't matter.
Maybe they all have underground passages.
Yeah, maybe it's all different connection points.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do love that the one real like dungeon scene where they're in that booby trap, that gag, like the physical comedy of him telling Short Round not to do anything, and then all Short Round does is lean against the wall and it activates it. And you do get that good moment of Indy like about to escape, and then he looks and he can't leave Short Round, so he stays in there with him and shit. I don't know, it's a good little thing.
It is. You think the spikes were overkill? You think the crushing weight of it all could be enough? And they're like, no, we also need spikes on this.
Yeah, because it's such a good visual image. It is getting to the point of where it's going through his hat and shit. Like,
yeah,
that's awesome. And then Willie, that might be one of the few times she saves the day. Reluctant.
Yeah, if Willie hadn't been there, they'd be fucked. They'd be dead.
Yeah, they'd be dead.
The end of the movie.
Yeah. So she does save him, but then she gets in and reactivates it, which is another, like, that's such a good fucking, that's so funny to me.
We are going to die.
That's what I was going to say, is that is like possibly my favorite delivery from Harrison Ford of all time. Is this, it never He says to make me laugh, dude. That's so
It
funny.
almost, it almost breaks character. Not breaks character. You seldom see Indy that stressed out and concerned.
That close to death. Dude.
Yeah, he's like that's like the closest they've ever been.
he breaks.
They almost get out of there and they're like, oh god, that was. It reminds me of it reminds me of that Rick and Morty. There's one episode where they have this. Rick's like 10-minute adventure, in and out, 10 minutes tops. And they go through all this stuff and get a medal, and they get back in the car and they start crying. And they're like,
yeah,
that was so close. That was so close, Morty. I'm so sorry. Like, it's almost like that.
Yeah. That's like, yeah, the closest he's ever been to. But,
still gotta get his hat, though.
Yeah, he's got to get his hat. Fuck it. Another great gag is, it's similar. They kind of reuse that in a way in Last Crusade when his dad sits down in that chair and it activates the stairs that go down. It's a funny gag too, but it's pretty similar.
The hey, I really the sexual tension, first of all, kind of comes out of nowhere, but also Harrison Ford, he's
like James Bond
guy, so I get it. Also, I think your nervous system is so excited from all the excitement. It's almost like, where do I put this energy?
Right.
Which is a real thing, actually, in heightened situations. That's why, legitimately, that's what the reason BDSM works. I know that sounds random. Is it heightens your nervous system to a point where you could have like higher pleasure? That's what it's about.
Yeah.
But I remember one time they were like, "What kind of questions are you going to ask me? Like, how do I sleep and what kind of cream do I put on my face?" I'm like, was that a cum facial joke from Lucas? So. I don't think so, because that probably wasn't as common in porn at the time. But I like to think so. I like to think Willie takes it and the loads in the face. That's
Jesus,
just
dude.
I only wanted to hear your reaction on that. I don't think that. She's probably a pillow princess, honestly, if anything.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Just ask Spielberg. Maybe he knows.
Yeah. Are they still together?
I don't think so. A lot of directors aren't good at keeping their marriages.
They said married 1991.
Okay, well,
together.
Maybe I'm a piece of shit.
It's got to be. It's hard. You're away from home a lot. You're on set 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
Traveling, especially if you're him going to Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
It is amazing that he can see this performance, see this character. She must be really cool in real life, because if I saw this character, even knowing it's a character, I'm like, I could never date this woman. I could never. I'm not buying this woman dinner. This is anyone or a man if they acted that way.
All right. So when they get to the actual Thuggee ceremony scene, it's flipped the switch in my brain, like at 12 years old, and it had me in a trance because I had never seen something so frightening and insane. And I was a very sheltered Christian boy. I didn't know anything about cults or ritual sacrifice or anything like that. And it was so awesome, like the absolute awesomeness of the like overloaded my brain. And I was obsessed with it for a long time because it was just like unlike anything I'd ever seen. And like the heart ripping scene. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And
I think a lot of children probably had that.
Yeah, it was just like awesome overload. And because like it gets first of all, it's good to see the entire ritual play out before Willie and Indy are in the similar situation, so you know what could be happening. Obviously, that's why they did it. But it has this terror to it because the longer it's going on, the shots are speeding up, they're chanting, and it's cutting way faster as it goes on, as the guy lowers into the pit. It's just excellent editing, dude. And the score is what sells it, because it could just have these guys chanting, it would be freaky, but John Williams' score is what really makes my heart fucking pound, especially as a kid. And he pulls out the heart. Not only does he pull out the heart, but it fucking Captures on Fire. It was the most evil shit I had ever seen at the time, and I was like, I need to see more evil shit. And, you know, like so I started seeking out. It was after this I started seeking out like more, you know, I'd never really watched horror or anything scary like that before.
Really? So this got you more interested in the horror genre?
Horror, and just I wanted to see some evil, crazy shit like that because it was just awesome. You know, it's like when you listen to a really gnarly, cool metal album, you're like, damn, this hits so fucking hard, dude. Because that's like when I was starting to get into heavier music too.
Right.
Slipknot.
You're Disturbed on the radio and you're like,
Disturbed,
whoa.
Metallica, you know, just stuff like that.
Then you go into what metalheads think is cool metal.
Yeah, exactly.
Not this mainstream shit.
Yeah. Yeah, in middle school, I was listening to fucking ass metal all day. Dude, like,
ass metal?
You know, the equivalent of ass rock, but metal, you know.
No, I get it. I was too.
Not like, dude, ugh. Some stuff I crossed the line at, like Theory of a Dead Man and shitty shit like that. No, I didn't listen to that garbage. But, you know, I was listening to Disturbed a lot in 7th grade.
Yeah, because that's who it's for.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly. There's almost like a trailer park metal, a trailer park new metal that Disturbed is arguably a part of.
Yeah. But
like Five Finger Death Punch. 5 Finger Death Punch is trailer park metal.
Oh yeah. Hey, but it got me listening to heavier shit. And now, you know, maybe if I didn't listen to Disturbed and Slipknot and 5 Finger Death,
you would still be Christian.
Slipknot is a little bit better than shit like 5 Finger Death Punch. But you know, it opened up my mind. Now I listen to cool shit like Death Grips, you know. So so they watched this whole ritual, and Indy's first thought is like, yep, I can go over there and grab the stone now.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Everybody leaves.
Yeah, I would be shitting my fucking pants. And the whole way this set is set up, it's just like so reminiscent of like those 50s sets from like older films from the 50s and 60s, these big soundstage, like we're going to have it purposely constructed in this way to where it's easy to film and it looks almost like a stage set or something, like you watching a play or something. I don't know, it just has this like old school Hollywood feel to it, or adds to it.
No, I get it. I love it. And I mean, that's an iconic set.
Yeah.
It's so iconic that even of all the stuff in this movie, people who haven't seen this movie know all of that imagery, everything we just talked about.
Yeah.
And has made its way into the consciousness.
Yeah. And
so now you're like, how do you top this? How do you top cults in movies like this? This is so awesome. You have to go like Midsummer with it.
It's so insane. Yeah. Yeah. And I love Midsummer, but I like this crazy over the top adventure insanity.
Yeah, brown people are scary, sort of.
No, come on, dude. Fucking Swedish in that movie in Midsummer.
But in this movie, it's kind of like, whoa, these pagans, these non-Christians. And even Molaram, the bad guy, who's much more one-dimensional than Belloc.
Yes.
But I love when he talks about overturning all the other religions.
Yeah, he's talking about taking down the Hebrew God and shit.
He's like, the Hebrew God, and then the Christian God.
Yeah, I'm like, well, wait a minute.
Molaram.
These are the same God.
Kalimad.
People.
Yeah, I never really got that. People are like,
Judeo-Christian.
Yeah, it's all the same. The Abrahamic religions, I'm like, isn't this all the same?
Yeah, like
shit? I don't get it.
But that's I think what really spooked me as a kid, because you know I was still religious, real deep into my faith, and I was like, oh yeah, this guy has to fucking go. And he's talking about taking down the Hebrew God.
Ain't nobody taking my Jesus.
But it was just like such a cool thing because I wasn't used to movies kind of like not shitting, like this character is like, fuck Christian God, fuck Jew God, you know, whatever. And I was like, yeah, this guy's fucking evil.
Well, it's and again, when these movies originally came out, we were a much more religious country. We're still a religious country on the whole.
Yeah.
But Younger generations less so, but at this time, yeah, the majority.
Yeah,
of
it's like
people
48% of Gen Z are claiming to not be religious, which is
well,
insane.
science.
I know, but it's like, so Indy goes to get the stone and he grabs it, and that's when he hears the crying out of a child, and that's when it comes full into play, and there's no way he can walk away now. And it's like, Nazis are bad, dude. We all know this, but like, seeing children work as slaves in a mine and being whipped to death is like, in a way, more despicable to me. It's not like we're not seeing, I know, obviously in World War II there was genocide, but
we don't see that in Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones.
And that's one of the things. That's one of the nice things. This is going to sound weird. One of the nice things about Nazis as villains is it's a shorthand for evil. And what I mean is, you don't have to establish how, unless you're a Ron DeSantis voter, you don't have to establish how evil they are. You're like, okay, Nazis, those are bad guys immediately.
Yeah.
That's why they have all this shit, because they have to establish these guys are bad. Because nobody had heard of a Thuggee, in America before this.
It's still very obscure.
It's still obscure, which is
interesting. Seeing something like this in front of you completely explains why Indiana Jones would be irrational and not thinking clearly and throw that rock at that slave driver. Because, I could see why his mind would just be overblown. Like that's fucked. If I saw it in front of me,
those are a really good throw. And I was also like, man, what if he hit one of those kids? What if it's like that was a risky? It's just a little too low, and it just knocks some kid out.
It would be really hard not to do the same thing that he did. So you can't really shit on him for not playing it safe.
I
mean, you have a kid telling Indy right after that he was praying to Shiva to die. That's fucked up, dude.
This movie's so dark.
And we discussed this in our first episode in Raiders, but Indiana Jones has a lot of two-dimensional villains, and Molaram is probably the least dimensional of all of them, but I still think he's awesome.
His visual design is killer.
Yeah.
He has that skull of whatever made up animal, that the bottom jaw, this like, I guess they sawed it off, or it just doesn't have a bottom jaw. It doesn't connect, so they just frame it perfectly. No, he really has no arc or character.
Yeah, but the thing is though, people like Spielberg and George Lucas can have these kinds of characters, and the detail and execution still makes it cool and work to me.
Right.
And any lesser director, I would be complaining more, I think.
I remember having this argument with a playwriting professor, and I guess I was approaching it more from a screenwriting thing, because I didn't grow up in New York going to plays all the time. I enjoy the theater, but but he was like, all the characters in a scene, it's better if they have an arc. I'm like, I don't know, if there's a waiter in a scene, like, them having an arc kind of detracts from everything else. They're just kind of a, no offense to whatever actor, but a prop. They're an extra,
Sure.
They're just there to serve a function, while the actual characters, we have a limited amount of time on. We can't have a 300-page script where every character has an arc, But it is one of those things. What would Mola Ram's arc be? I guess is my point. Like, what more could you do with it without detracting from the rest of the movie?
Yeah, that's fair. At least we do get that scene where he does talk to Indy and stuff and forces them to drink blood and shit.
Right. You see, what his objective is. He has an objective and you have to know, okay, this is the guy's objective that he's trying to get. This is his motivation. He's a crazy cult leader. He's addicted to power. That's all you need. And his arc is failing. That's what his arc is.
But also, like, him talking about these different, like, taking down Hebrew and Christian gods, it does confirm that all these gods do exist in this universe.
It's so funny. So funny. And I was going to address this at the end, but so at this point, it's weird. Obviously, this movie was not planned before Raiders. I don't think they planned a sequel or anything.
Yeah.
Because in Raiders, it introduces the supernatural at the end of the movie, and his arc is sort of starting to believe, like finding God, basically starting to believe in the supernatural by the end of the movie, because he's like, well, if you believe that sort of thing is beginning, but then because this is a prequel, he sees all of this crazy shit, and then in Raiders he's still like, well, if you believe that sort of thing. I'm like, dude, what are you?
Halfway through this movie, he sees a man get his heart ripped out, and he's still alive.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, something's going on here.
Oh man. Oh man. And the special effects still look so good. Like when the guy's getting lowered into the fucking lava pit. It's so cool.
Yeah.
And it's like, we talked about how Willie would be dead, or they would be dead without Willie, but Willie and Indy would be dead without Short Round, because he's the actual hero of the film. Because, you know, Indy gets into that trance because he has to drink that evil blood and shit, which I do like. It's got this, like, I don't know, almost like a Scooby-Doo kind of thing. Like, I'm in a trance now. I don't know. But you do get that moment I love where he grabs Short Round and shit, and he strikes him, and he falls down. He's like, Indy, I love you. And it's like this endearing thing. And I love this when, because that's like, okay, now they're gonna put Willie in it, and for some reason he doesn't pull Willie's heart out. He just, like, I don't know, doesn't matter.
I don't know.
But that's one of my favorite moments of the film, is the music that's escalating and getting really fast as he holds Short Round over the pit, and then he, like, snaps out of it, and then he gives him the wink and shit. Even, like, in this insane situation, he's still, like, trying to make sure Short Round realizes it's okay, and then he, like, takes him down and shit. But
Did I say before this? We see Short Round get whipped. We see a child get whipped in this movie. And unfortunately, they have the other child. I guess it would be too much. What if it's just like a grandma with a switch? Like, come here, boy.
okay, yeah.
No.
As someone who got switched as a kid, I don't find that funny.
Yeah, sorry. I had liberal parents. They just hit me with their hands. But
Yeah, sometimes I would have to go pick out my own switch.
yeah, the psychological torture. I never had to do that. We didn't have a switch in our yard. That's why.
Yeah.
No, my parents didn't use a belt. They just, pop on the bottom, a quick schmack, as Sean Connery would say.
Sure.
Yeah, I wasn't abused. I want to clarify that.
Okay.
Just
So Short Round being the saving the day is fun, but that's the thing, is, like, as soon as I want to stop this flat right now and talk about why there is a trapdoor built into this area that Molaram can just jump down into and escape. And it's just,
that's very
more, I know, it's like more Scooby-Doo shit. Like, did he practice jumping and sliding into that before? Because it's like a very specific. And why was it built?
It's incredibly specific. Why was it built? Why can Indy activate it?
Where does it even take him to?
Is it remote activated?
Is it pneumatic?
Is it? Well, it's like, couldn't he follow him
somewhere?
Because I guess he thought, well, this is my escape in case I need to escape. I guess.
How far does that even take him?
I don't know. It goes farther deep into the lava. No, because there's lava right there.
Yeah, I don't know.
It can't go too deep.
I know. That's why I like to think it's like somehow pneumatic, and he's like flying through like a tunnel. Like
it's like the when you put the tube in the bank and drive through. It's like pneumatic. That. Okay.
Yeah. He's like flying through. Can you imagine that visual image? That'd be crazy.
No, Molaram doing that, and there's like envelopes and letters going with him from the mailroom.
Viewers at home, this is like my 4th favorite movie of all time, and that's just how it is. I think it's the greatest adventure movie of all time. I love every inch of this movie. But the best scene.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. Top 5 favorite shots of all time. One of them is in this movie.
Is it Indy stepping out into the?
It's just the most heroic fucking thing ever. Willie says, "Let's get out of here." And he says, "Right, all of us." And then the children's march plays. And I'm trying not to get emotional. I'm about to like cry. It's so awesome. I got
goosebumps. It's great.
He walks out of the shadows. He's ready to fucking kick some fucking ass and save these children. And it's, people can say they might think it's like a cheap way to get a reaction out of you saving children, but I think it's fucking badass in this movie. And the look on his face, it's motherfucking Indiana Jones, bitch.
It's the birth of him as a hero versus just
the
a
music
grave robber.
peaks, and he's ready to do whatever it fucking takes to save these fucking kids, and your heart swells, and it's just like, yeah, it's like one of my favorite scenes in all of cinema.
And I think when it worked, one of the reasons it worked, because I get annoyed at child endangerment in movies can be lazy to me. I agree.
Yeah, but the payoff can be great if it's done correctly.
If done well, the payoff can be great. And then also, there is, I think Indy needed it to be children. I don't know if this incarnation of Indiana Jones, if he would risk life and limb to save adults, if that makes sense. He needed that extra heart. He might be jaded and be like, well, I don't know. I can't take on all these guys all at once. But this, after seeing everything, he's like, no, these are fucking children. I have to save them, and he obviously has a soft spot for children, probably because his own childhood was so weird with his dad and stuff. Whatever daddy issues is working out.
I get teary-eyed in this movie 3 times. One, it's when the ritual scene, when he pulls out the heart and it catches on fire. It's so evil and awesome, and it's so cinematic and cool that like I get teary-eyed just from how awesome it is. And then another part is this, what I just described, because of how awesome it is. Sometimes movies, it's like they get an emotional response from me just because of how good and how awesome they are, because I love awesome things. The third one is when the the kids come back to their families, and it's like this big heroic moment. And I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. And if I told people like Temple of Doom makes me weepy, they'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Anyway, that's just how I am, dude.
No, I get it. I feel that same. There are certain things.
Also, Harrison Ford's like my favorite actor, and these movies, this and Star Wars and Blade Runner, they all mean so much to me. I don't know. It's just so awesome.
Dude, what a run. What a fucking career.
Yeah.
I do like at one point, I think Short Round's fighting the big guy who's in brown face, and is the same guy who gets shot in the Raiders with the sword fight that didn't happen.
Yeah, at least he got to do some more shit this time.
Yeah. But he was probably mad, like, well, we didn't pay you for as many days of shooting, so I'll put you in the next next movie. But they're fighting, and Willie's like, no, don't, Short Round. And then she's like, okay, go save him. And like pushes this 12-year-old kid to help out. And he just like smacks him. That's
probably the worst moment of Willie's character.
It was like, what do you do? First of all, why don't you do something? And then she's like, no, child, go fight this 7-foot-tall hulking monstrosity.
Also, we get the great gag. There is a gag, even though all the shit's going on, of like the, what's it called? The voodoo. The voodoo. And Short Round saves him. And then after saving Indy's life by fucking up this kid who's doing this, Indy's like, he's like, Short Round, quit fooling around with that kid and get down here. It's like, dude, he just saved your life. It's a great thing. And Short Round's not going to be like, but Indy, I was saving your life. He's just like, yep, okay, I'm coming. I don't know. Yeah, so that's also a good death, is the guy getting crushed by that rock tumbler.
Yeah.
And get sucked into it and getting crushed. Brutal. I've been thinking about what it would be like to die that way a lot recently.
I would want to go head first, but he didn't.
Because there's these things, people at home. I was merchandising for Pepsi for a while. I'm not doing it anymore, but you'd have to go in the back of these rooms at like Walmart, Target, Kroger, places like that, and they have these balers that crush down cardboard and plastic and stuff. And every time I see it, I have these intrusive thoughts, and I'm like, damn, what would it feel like to be crushed like that?
No, me too. When I was working at McDonald's, which is obviously a crappy job, I would use the trash compactor, and sometimes I'd be like, what if I just, to get out of my shift, stuck my head in there? What would that be like? I worked the fryers mostly, and all the time I'd be like, dude, what if I just stuck my hand, like my whole arm in there just to get out of this shit?
But then I think of the scene from Watchmen where this dude gets fucking oil all over him. I'm like, nope, fuck that. That would suck. I don't know. Yeah, so the mind chase, it to me is like one of the coolest and kinetic and like awesome chases of all time. I'm glad that's what stuck out to Casher, because it's such a thrill, and it's cut so well, and they had to use like practical sets and miniatures that it all feels so real. Today it would just be like, okay, we're gonna put you in a minecart in front of a green screen and we're gonna, you know, have you act crazy. And I think the use of real sets in this give it such a great feeling.
No, absolutely.
And the whole time I'm watching this, it's like perplexing me that people don't like this movie, because it's such an incredibly fun sequence that, just like the first movie, it doesn't have as many stages in it, but there are moments of like objectives, like I said in the last episode, like, okay, they have to try to go left. Okay, they missed left, so now they're going to go down this path. Okay, now they need to do something to get these guys off of their path. Now they need to figure out how to stop it. Okay, that's not going to work. So now Indy's going to do the only thing he can and jump off of it and try and stop it. That scene walked so that Spider-Man stopping the train and Spider-Man 2 could run.
So ridiculous. Also, the water, that gag. There's a gag right there. It's cheesy.
Yeah, it's cheesy.
I like that they can't shoot them in the Minecraft the whole time, but then they can shoot that little target.
Minecraft.
Minecart, whatever.
Yeah.
They can shoot that little target to change the
track. Yeah.
Also, when they go through the wrong tunnel and they break through that, like, warning, danger sign, does that have any effect? Why is that track closed off? Is it more dangerous or something?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Because don't they meet back in the middle anyway?
Yeah, I just think it was like more dangerous. I don't know. Also, like there's that part where it escalates and they even have to go off the track and like duck down. It's so awesome though.
It's stupid. It's fun.
I know, it's great. But yeah, it's like the most insane roller coaster you could ever be on. That's why.
That's the point where it is like Donkey Kong. It's a fucking
yeah. Which those levels were always infuriating to me as a kid. I was not good at video games, so
yeah,
you know. And also, like,
what?
Right before that scene, actually, no, the minecart scene. Minecart scene is really thrilling. I think it's the scene of him escaping. While they're all shooting he's like on the rope and stuff, and somehow they're all shooting and it's hitting the bridge and the rope and stuff. And then
that's pretty ridiculous.
He gets on the crane and he like swings down, and there's this awesome shot that's like following him while he's swinging so he can get into the cart. And it's just such a awesome set of different angles, and the way it all connects together. It's so thrilling. That's the point in the movie. I was like, how do people not enjoy this? Because it's so cool. And then he just swings down.
It's because of the things we've mentioned, that for some people, they remember Willie Short Round being arguably kind of a caricature. Well, he's a caricature, to be honest. And I remember my dad mentioning like, oh, we don't like the monkey brains, and I don't like the monkey brain. And I'm like, well, that's like 2 shots in the movie is the monkey brains.
Yeah, like what the fuck?
And I don't like that either. Like the food stuff, I don't like it. I do think it is. Yeah, I think it's racist. That it's not enough for me to hate the movie. I will denounce that scene. You could argue it's of its time or whatever, but
yeah, that's kind of why I like it. I think
it's still a lot.
But yeah, it's definitely not good. Well, like
my problem with the climax of this, when they're on the bridge, is that there's a Family Guy episode where Michael Eisner falls and gets eaten by alligators in the same setup because Stewie is dressed as and Brian are dressed as Short Round and Indy, and I can't watch this movie now without thinking of that. It's kind of like Blue Harvest in Star Wars. I can't watch it without thinking of Family Guy.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I watched a lot of Family Guy at that age too. 7th grade, that's when I was like watching Family Guy every day.
No, that was when it was at its peak.
Yeah,
For
sure. I would sneak up to my grandparents' bedroom because they had cable up there, and that's when I would watch Adult Swim while they were downstairs watching Wheel of Fortune, whatever crap. So yeah.
How much money does Pat Sajak make, and how much does he actually work?
Yeah, I think about that too every time I see that on TV.
Because at this point, I'm sure he delegates. He was like, "This is my show. All this paperwork and stuff, meetings. I'm not doing that. I just do the show, and I go back to my Beverly Hills mansion."
Yeah,
like Vanna White, dude. All she does is, dude, she probably has a net worth of like 30 million, and all she does is turn letters around.
Yeah, dude. I thought about this like a month ago when I saw this on TV because I don't have cable, so I kind of forget about.
I enjoy Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, no, I like Wheel of Fortune. I have it on the Switch. It's like a double pack.
Yeah, I played it with you
with Jeopardy. Yeah, it's fun. I'm better.
I always thought. I know we're way off topic. The Price is Right is such an insane American idea for a show. Is like, oh, what if the whole show was an ad? Like that's the idea. That's the pitch for the.
Yeah,
I used to watch that all the time with Barker.
Yeah, Bob Barker, dude. Yeah, anytime I would stay home, usually when I was home sick or in the summer, sometimes I would be at my grandparents'. They would always watch The Price is Right, and then after that, Young and the Restless would come on, and I'd be like, "Fuck this," and I'd go in a different room, do something else. Fucking hated Young and the Restless, dude. Oh man, soap operas, dude, terrible.
Yeah, Fortunately, my grandparents would watch more NCIS and stuff.
Oh yeah, they watched that too. They watched.
I had a couple grandparents who were so out of the loop. I brought like a Return of the Jedi VHS, and they were like, "Well, what is that?" I'm like, "It's Star Wars."
Jesus Christ!
I was like, "How do you not?" Like, I understand if you've never seen Star Wars, you've never heard of Star Wars. When it came out, you were alive. Like, my dad saw it in theaters.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
That's bizarre.
I remember being baffled at the time. I don't know.
To me, I love it's such a weird choice to have the climax of the movie on a bridge, but I love when he's stuck in the middle and the cults thugs are approaching on either side, because it puts you into that scenario, which is very important to me for a lot of movies like this. It's like, well, how the hell is this character going to get out of this situation? I feel like that's
well, it does that. Even Indy, you see it on his face. I do think it takes so long. He's doing this with his sword for like, it feels like 90 seconds before they figure out what he's about to do. And I'm kind of like, why don't you just shoot him now?
I think he's kind of sitting there like, hopefully they'll change their mind if they see what I'm about to do. And then he's kind of like, well, fuck it. I don't know. I'm just going to do this. Hold on, lady. We going for a ride. Like, dude.
How does he know the chant to like, you betray Shiva? How do you know that would happen?
The guy's a savant, I'm telling you.
It's like, oh, I guess I remember this one footnote from something I read in my postdoc 20 years ago that says if you chant this in English, apparently, the stones will glow red hot.
Yeah, was the Necronomicon, dude?
It doesn't.
Yeah, so dude, that is a weird, like a weird choice. Is like where the final battle is going to be them hanging for their lives on a bridge. But it's also funny because like they could have just had Molaron just fall and then get eaten, but like they have this extended sequence of him hitting his head on the wall and like flying down and shit.
No, and getting eaten by gators, which is kind of funny. It's brutal. It's kind of funny to me because it's just so over the top.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. For some reason, like gators and stuff is like really funny to me, and just like sharks. Like it's so over the top. It's almost like an Austin Powers when they have mutated sea bears. That's all they can do. That's all they can afford. Because
Yeah.
sharks are an endangered species in the 90s.
Yeah.
They're protected. I don't know. It doesn't. Well, you need that character arc of Indy because he's a good man releasing his old selfish atheist ideology and admitting that religion is true and that he should help people because atheists are bad people with no morals.
Yeah, dude.
That's what the movie is. That's
Yeah.
the subtext of the movie.
Well,
you
you
know,
know.
is pagans and atheists are bad, and they are.
All religions are true. You have to follow at least one of them, or you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, that is a very George Lucas thing. I think Lucas is very much. I mean, he talks about it with the Force. He's like, it's all religions are trying to get to the same place.
Right.
So I think that's reflected here as well.
Well, it's not like George Lucas is religious, so I don't really. Oh well, it doesn't matter.
He has a spirituality to him, apparently.
He definitely has to have a spirituality side. Otherwise, But
And I will say, it is one of, like you said, you cried in it. One of the most heartwarming things of all the children coming back, and it's so grand. Him pulling in Willie with a whip because she's into that shit. And that's not consensual. She loved it. She liked it.
She's into it. It's okay.
She's into it.
It's not the same as Stallone putting his arm in front of Adrian, in her apartment.
I've heard women say that's hot. I'm like, you only do it because he's buff.
I will say that
if he looked like me, you wouldn't be saying that.
Yeah,
no. Like, let me out of your apartment. But if he looks like Rocky's 70s Sylvester Stallone, maybe.
It's funny though. We were talking about how at least they talk about British imperialism a bit, but then the fucking Brits show up.
They save everything
to save the day. It's like, God damn, dude.
Well, there are some Indian soldiers there.
I know, but it's
much better shots. The Thuggees are like stormtrooper aim.
Yeah, it feels a little shitty to me.
Except for when they have to hit that switch, they magically roll a nat 20. No, but it's so grand, and he pulls her in short rounds on a fucking elephant that pans out on a crane.
It's awesome. It feels like such this great victory, and it's really the best ending for him as a character because he saves his children, and he loses all the artifacts at the end of every movie, but this one he's like willingly giving back to the tribe, and it's just a nice moment. And so technically he loses the grail, and he does choose to give that up, but he doesn't even get to take it back or anything. And then the ark is put up, and he doesn't take any crystal skulls, anything. At least this one, he's like, it's in his possession and he gives it back to them.
Right. No, that is interesting. It's a very conscious decision versus I can't get it or I'll die.
Right.
And unless my dad calls me Indy.
Yeah.
Which is still a great moment. I love it.
Yeah, great. No, we'll talk about that in the next episode. But the ending is so beautiful and heroic to me. It screams 80s blockbuster, but
it does.
It leaves you in awe to me. I love it. And then
it earns. It feels earned.
It feels earned. And I want people to really give this movie a second chance if you haven't. Holy shit.
No, I agree. I gave it a second or third or fourth chance, whatever this is.
This movie's so much fun. I just hate that how much of the 2000s internet opinions have affected bandwagons even today.
And here's what I think it is. It was harder to find and post on social sites, and you had to go to very specific forums. It wasn't just Reddit where it's very accessible, very easy to make an account, and not everybody had higher speed internet then. So you got the nerdiest IT guys, or the nerdiest of the nerds, the neckbeardiest of the neckbeards, who were able to, I'm going to seek out a bulletin board system to bitch about movies. That's why. And then later, when it became less time intensive to find those communities, people who make time in their life to have sex started posting movie opinions.
Yeah. Well, I just don't know why people hated this one. And it's obviously I think people went on to hate the fourth one more, but this people act like this is a piece of shit. Some people, and I'm like, what? a piece of shit? Like this
No.
movie you think is a
I understand not preferring it.
yeah, but
I mean,
to think it's like horrible or something.
No,
And,
there's aspects I don't like for sure.
and
It's this movie in a lot of ways it's more fun than Raiders, but I would say it's more uneven than Raiders for things we've talked about.
yeah,
And
but
Raiders is just a goddamn masterpiece.
yeah, to me it's like I can look beyond.
But this is your favorite.
This is my favorite. Not only is it my favorite, it's in my top 5 favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
It's just like, to me, it's the ultimate adventure.
It's like, what is your, I think I know your top 5. It's like, and 3 of them have Harrison Ford. It's Return of the Jedi.
I'd say it. No. My Star Wars always flip flops, so I just like to say Star Wars, the original.
Star Wars.
Just now, listen, people at home. I could name drop 1,000 different fucking obscure ass art movies for clout, but these are just the movies that mean so much to me.
And also, a lot of your favorites and preferences are in childhood and adolescence. You know.
Sure.
I'm playing, different medium. I'm playing the new Zelda. It's a lot more accessible than Ocarina of Time is with all its jank from the N64 controls. But that's my favorite game because it was a kid. And I love Indiana Jones and these type of movies because I grew up on them. They're very formative to us. And I think it's one of those things. Fortunately, it's not been as nostalgified as, say, Star Wars or franchise. So it's a little more pure. We'll see how Disneyfied the next one is, though. I'm excited to see people shit on that, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
As you're heaving, as you've read the leaks or rumors, and I haven't.
Jesus, dude.
I'm ready for it. I mean, after Rise of Skywalker, my asshole still gaped wide open, so I can take anything. I feel.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anything else to add about Temple of Doom?
Yeah, I was just thinking about something. What were we just talking about right before that, though? Talking about the internet and Temple
Neckbeards, short round on an elephant.
No, I don't remember. But
it sounds like fortune cookies.
Man, yeah. No. My favorite movies. If people want to know out there, like I said, these are just, it's just how it is. Yeah, we got Star Wars #1, #2 Blade Runner, #3 Howl's Moving Castle.
Okay.
#4 Temple of Doom, #5 2001: A Space Odyssey. So,
I mean, yeah, no, and
3 of them have star Harrison Ford. So yeah, he's gonna be my favorite fucking actor. And it's like, yeah, I'm a 90s kid, but like when it comes to movies, I grew up on 80s fucking blockbusters. So yeah, they're gonna mean a lot to me. It's just how it is.
Yeah, I did too. I remember one of the reasons we became friends is we had a class together, and I think we were both like, "Oh, you've seen Blade Runner. I've seen Blade Runner." Like it was literally just like, "Oh, we've watched some of the, because a lot of people our age I think haven't seen Temple of Doom,
Yeah. Well, now Disney got the streaming rights from Paramount, so they're putting them up. I think today or tomorrow on their streaming platform. So I think people are gonna. I think younger kids are gonna get into them and marathon them before the new one, so that'll be important. So anyway, that wraps up our episode on Temple of Doom. We'll be back next week, later into the summer.
The Last Jihad.
It's just like these episodes are longer than our usual episodes. That's just how it is with Spielberg, dude.
That's how it is, bro. Put it in the back
in such a way, I hope everyone at home listening to this, maybe you like Temple of Doom, or maybe this is going to inspire you to give it a second chance. I don't know.
Leave a comment, like and subscribe.
Yeah,
what do you think
help
about Temple of Doom?
Help us grow if you like it. We're going to be doing some other things. I want to do some video essays, and I also want to make a spin-off of this called Kino, so we can discuss pure fucking garbage. Anyway, we'll see you next week. Hopefully y'all are starting to enjoy your summer. Thanks everybody.